Hello and welcome to the Abstract Flower blog first video, or podcast, or article if you will. I'm not a professional writer, but I'd like to present some considerations I'd like to share about the current state of the music business, new bands, their music and the hardships regarding the needed exposure to get noticed by audiences. These are the concepts that have been roaming about my head for the last few years that I wanted to share with a larger audience, stuff that has been the subject of long late night conversations with other musicians in real life that I'd like to share with you now. I'm talking mainly about bands with classic formations, that is jazz, rock or metal bands, who record their music, share it with the world with the aim of hopefully transforming their activities in a full-time job, enriching the cultural landscape in the meantime. Financial incentives for musicians making their music are lacking. Who hopes to make it now in the music business by using the old methods? Assembling a band, recording an album, touring endlessly, getting a contract with an indie label, then continuing to tour endlessly, and finally making it. Reap the fruits of the labor and enjoy it all. It's unfortunately a delusion. Labels don't invest in tours anymore, so no real promotion is taking place, especially if you're a new band. The good old bands keep riding the old wave thanks to their own reputation, filling stadiums. They're the winners of this zero-sum game. Once they retire, the demand could increase to the point a renaissance could actually take place, but let's just focus on the present. Band members of the newer emerging bands have jobs to sustain themselves, and not being able to focus mainly on art is detrimental to the overall quality of the final recording. Napster, consequences aside, on a greater scale, part of the problem is lack of awareness and distortion of perception. Let me make an example. Pop artist X, backed by corporate funding, produces his first album. I've read in a ifpi.org report dated 2013 that the cost of breaking a newly signed artist in a major market ranges from $500,000 to $2 million. It's a joke if you compare it to the newly formed band whose budget can be as low as nothing at all to a maximum of $10,000. That is, if band members were thrifty with their spending in their last 3 years of touring and saving money from their day jobs. So, we have this fictional major-backed pop artist X and then an emerging indie band. Now, for pop artist X, let's assume the backing corporation spends $100,000 in advertising money to promote the artist's debut. The emerging band instead spends $1,000. By the way, figures from now on will be entirely speculative, unlikely in a real-life scenario. Pop artists sells 10,000 copies of the debut album. Emerging band sells the same. Who's more successful? The emerging band is actually 10 times more successful than pop artist X. But who's seen as more successful? Well, pop artist X, because of the corporate branding and his omnipresence in mainstream media, a constructed perception of a celebrity obtained by the mere exposure to the general public, and his carefully crafted image persona. What's worse for us independent musicians, and better for them, is that the more people like pop artist X's Facebook page and get to see the number of page YouTube views and know this general exposure, the more sympathy they'll naturally get, because humans, as David Hume in his treatise of human nature stressed, are naturally inclined to like rich people more, be it factual or artificially crafted, because they like imagining themselves possessing the kind of riches the pop artist allegedly possesses. Also, if someone is already liked by a given amount of people, others will find it easier to have a perception of him being an individual of higher value, as pointed by Cialdini in Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. I believe that's the basis of the being famous for being famous absurdity. By the same token, if I told you now that I am a millionaire and that I became one by using the methods I'll be teaching you, you'd be hanging by my every word, but don't worry, I'm just a random guy on the internet. Can we get back to a time where thought, heart, talent and a strong work ethic were needed to be highly successful, please? Is it too much to ask? Well, it's not that simple, but I think there's a way. Hear me out. How do music corporations pull it off? It's like an assembly line. They make full use of the concept of division of labor and division of work. Corporations have marketing departments, producers, mixing engineers, booking agents, managers of all kinds, attorneys, session musicians, distributors and so on. They're all in place and ready to perform on the last product, ready to work synergistically to make it all happen. Lately they've become quite conservative with the choice of artists to invest on. But I don't I don't criticize the game itself. I really find it fascinating. In America, this has been around for a while now, as books as the Music Business Handbook have shown me. Here in Italy, I can say structures are weak, both logistically, and real organizations don't exist, save for the music corporate franchises from the other side of the world. Furthermore, anytime I've asked questions in the past to the professionals here, I've been met with laconic gatekeepers, which is maddening. It also speaks volumes about their own powerlessness. Music corporations have become more conservative, serving the cookie-cutter formula time and time again. I've asked myself, why the pop star? Why not some very talented pianist, performer, someone that could blow people's minds? Wouldn't it be as effective, if not more effective, than a teenage girl shaking her booty? I've come with some hypotheses. First, you don't have to invest as much time nurturing the artist when all you have to do is dress him up and place him on a stage. Second, good looks. Yes, talented young, beautiful girls or boys are a rarity, but talent is not needed, so no problem, just pick the pretty ones. Third, just guess the demographic of young girls better fit the impulse buyer type. Perhaps the identification with such role models helps too. You know, with the real-life Barbie dolls. The rest is a mystery to me. Do they look at statistics of what sold more in the previous years and keep presenting more of the same just to have a good return of investment? Can they be so cynical? After all, if they work in the music business, they have to love well-crafted music to some degree, else they'd be working in another industry. Perhaps they're just trying to make ends meet for everyone involved and are willing to sacrifice innovation to protect hundreds of livelihoods. It might be a strategy to battle high turnover. It might have to do with social relevance of said personalities. I guess it doesn't come as a surprise to think that a corporation acts just like a corporation, even when it comes to music. I mean, now that I've experienced the workplace as having similar issues, having to compete in a market for attention, having to have a positive return of investment, care about lower ranking employees and the likes. If there only were a way to emulate the corporate game, but on a smaller scale, targeting smaller niches. In a way that less money could be invested, that way earnings should only be proportionate to the money spent to guarantee a livelihood for all the people working towards the successful enterprise. Enter independent recording labels, or to be more accurate, indie recording labels. The downfall of the music industry meant also less revenue for the small man and a terrible homogenization of indie music too. What once was a hideout for new artists to be nurtured in a safe environment and thrive once reached maturity is now just The irony is that majors are persuaded into acquiring successful independent music labels by the same devices they use to influence its audiences, and that's popularity gained through exposure. The difference is that emerging bands have something to offer culturally, well, not all of them. Majors just reproduce it artificially. When art isn't honest, it's ugly. I think that's why we hate it. Now that I think about it, it might be the reason they market mainly to young girls. What the hell do they know about discernment? The boys are playing Call of Duty anyways. You could do it all by yourself. Yes, it's got a huge opportunity cost, but you don't have to be the best at every single aspect of the enterprise, and it's a matter of building cash flow first, then scale the quality by delegating stuff to specialized workers afterwards. And despite the naysayers, if you're offering something amazing, people will notice. The problem is getting enough eyeballs to know about the existence of what you're offering. Plus, you don't need much time to learn the basics about everything you need to know. See the Pareto principle. Focusing only on the music itself, producing the album, then touring, it doesn't work that way anymore. Not where I live, that is. I don't know if it's different in America, I suspect it's not. When I started playing, I wanted to have a career as a musician, and the only way I can do it now is by having a startup. Don't be delusional, it's over. I think that engaging in a high-risk zero-sum game is too reckless now, when there are other ways to get your message across effectively without turning in a networking sycophant. You know the type. Can music once again be a catalyst for change, a chance to introduce younger generations to philosophy, the arts, like it has been before, and give new life to the works of great minds of the past, making them relevant again, be inspiring instead of being forgotten and lost in the drivel now that's mostly viral, funny and quite dumb videos, corporate-sponsored, talentless, shallow art, sensationalistic news, awful reality and talent shows. I'm not saying they shouldn't exist. The problem is nothing else is given any kind of exposure. I don't even take sides. The audience might be the problem. Probably the audience needs to be instructed on culture, but that's a whole different matter. Right now I think stand-up comedy is the exception. Bill Burr, Doug Stanhope, they provide social commentary. It's honestly a relief. Probably it's not the music that doesn't sell anymore, maybe it's its packaging. Music doesn't sell, then don't sell the music. Give it away for free. Sell the idea behind. Sell ad space to a third party on a website. The internet removed the middleman, now it's easier than ever. Well, don't put then your music on Spotify, collectively making the independent musicians poorer and making a corporation richer, then in turn will promote more corporate-sponsored music drivel on the same platform. It drives me nuts, seeing second and third order effects caused by naive actions made in good faith by emerging artists inadvertently hurting themselves. Think critically, learn to program, empower yourself with knowledge. Haven't you got a nerd friend? Don't give your residual income opportunities away to third-party services that sit on their asses, raking in your money, unless their services are a solution to a bottleneck in your enterprise and are going to save you lots of money or time. Then again, much can be saved by investing in yourself and learning new skills, but not so much that you spend 10 years learning new stuff. But hey, everyone's different. It's sad when we still cling to the innovative music of 20 years ago and that you have to probe the underbelly of the internet to find new amazing but underproduced music. We don't have the time to look for them, and they don't have time to market themselves. Even forums that should focus mainly on new music are living the best. Ask yourself, am I more than a romantic idealist? Should I go ahead and make my vision a reality? Share it with the world, no matter how. Maybe try to assemble a group of people and try to make it a little collective reality, with the hope of it expanding. Resign and try to make most of what I've got, not taking risks, declare war on the drivel and try to bring it down. Troll it to fucking hell. If you're a musician composing original music, you've certainly experienced going through the hassle of writing music, recording it and hosting it somewhere online and or printing copies of it just to be then disappointed by the results of your hard work. Aside from your circle of friends, no one noticed it. Some guys try to leverage viral marketing with publicity stunts, as talent alone doesn't gain you social momentum. Then you have to promote it by touring just so people know your music exists, but then you start losing money, time, someone in the band gets sick of it, then the project drops. It has happened many times to musicians I know, it has happened to me too. That's how bands' growth is stumped and how new promising talent dies. Just as people start talking about the band promise, it's all over. And it's a pity. To add insult to injury, they start a new band with a different name, thus invalidating all the brand promotion efforts. Often they don't even know what branding is. Well, it's understandable. I've wrapped my head around programming and the business models of startups, as well as some internet marketing. Now the picture is finally becoming clearer. I feel independent music needs a paradigm shift, as cliché as it may sound, and that if we want new good music to exist, musicians should start thinking as entrepreneurs. Do you really need the supervision of a label? The difference between an indie and a major label is now just the size. I wouldn't even want them to risk it for me, than holding me accountable for my or their mistakes. You know how employer-employee relationships work. I'd rather do it all myself and take all the risks associated, learn by failing but reap 100% of the rewards when I'll eventually finally get there. Yeah, fair partnerships would be awesome if something like that even exists. In the end, I just want to make a living doing what I love, and I guess I should hurry before today's labels realize they should take a hint from Silicon Valley or Seth Godin. There are countless other considerations to make. This list of concerns is by no means comprehensive, but I hope you found this interesting. I think I'll stop here for now. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit theabstractflower.com for free tabs, free guitar lessons, other blog posts with tips and tricks. I have also other channels here on YouTube, which should show on the screen in a while. See you next. Adrian out. Bye.